Happy National Poetry Month, everyone. I was supposed to be reading today a couple places. I was supposed to do a reading at Western Nebraska Community College, and hello to folks from WNCC out there, and Deb Carpenter-Knowlton's class, as well as Chadron State College, but obviously I'm not. So I'm grateful to be here by video, grateful for the Nebraska Arts Council helping to sponsor this. As well as my family, because this is clearly not a college, clearly not a classroom. I'm here. My sister is videotaping. My daughter is doing the audio. My dog is here somewhere. You may see or hear him at some point, as well as other family members. So I'll do some poetry and answer a few questions, as well as do a writing prompt at the end. Thank you to those who sent in poetry requests as well as questions online, and let's get started. I want to start with a poem that's called Ode to Pants. It's written before coronavirus, so there's some parts that are inaccurate and parts that are very accurate. So, Ode to Pants. Oh, pants. You are so sensible, so much warmer in the world than kilt or toga, though on so many mornings I, nested in my robe, resist. Outside there is employment, there are errands, and without you I'm not allowed out into all that adulthood. My tea still warm, Disney Plus, the dog does not want me to put you on. I do not want to put you on. Facilitator of capitalism. You grandfather of the patriarchy. Down with you, pants! Let us end your belted tyranny. Bare our souls for a call for rest. For steam to rise from the mugs in our hands. Porch. Blue bathrobe, smile, the lawlessness of this new breeze on our knees world. Thank you. And I don't know, I can't remember who requested that. I apologize. It came in online off the actual link. So this poem was requested by Enola. So The Baby That Ate Cincinnati. It's the title poem from my second book. And it came about when my wife was pregnant with our first daughter, audio person now, when, so Sarah's showing just enough. It's clearly a baby in there. We thought we'd go out in public and people will come up to us and tell us the wonderful things we can expect. That didn't happen. What happened was that people would come up to us and tell us all the horrible things we might expect, saying things like, "You're never leaving the house again, ever." So this poem is called The Baby That Ate Cincinnati. Because the way they say baby, like a storm on the way. They say baby, like that's the cue for the thunderclap to interrupt the wolves' long howl. They say, I got 3, and they're the best ever to happen to me. As they say, baby, same as you say run, they shout baby, like they're flames licking at the window frames. Tell us how their lives didn't just change. No, as they say baby, like a hyena inside there coming out, fangs ablazing. They say, like it's standing right behind us, this tornado on the highway, where they give that patronizing nod when we claim we're still going to go see movies. Oh yeah, we're going to call our friends. Oh sure, right, we're going to go do poetry readings in Western Nebraska, which I will soon. Hopefully we reschedule all this. As they say, baby, like a bomb in the air. They say, baby. Like sitting in the shelter now with just AM radio and a can of pork and beans. You're so lucky. They then weep sincerely as I'm sitting on the bed, knees held precious, watching my wife's belly bigger every day, wondering, What's in there? We're going to need a priest, a gun, silver bullets, wire cutters, $7 million in non-sequential unmarked bills, Red Cross National Guard, 16 gallons of hydrochloric acid, when all of these warnings, gift-wrapped like blessings, when I know ain't going to be the same around here. But baby, when we say baby, let's say it same way we say bread, like honey, like beautiful, like dear, like it's true. And a couple poems I've been working on a lot of poems while at home. Been home a little bit more than a month now, and doing a fair amount of writing. So this is one poem from this. This is called "The Politics Want Me Dead." And that sounds like a thriller, like a movie full of dark glances and low-cut dresses, but it's only economics. There's a virus, a pandemic, and there's a stock market. And no matter the numbers added up, the answers all come in dollars. Jobs, ounces, miles, dollars. Masks, gowns, lives, dollars. Toilet paper, ventilators, dollar signs. So the politics want me infected, want 500 billion in non-sequential unmarked bills, want grandpa to sacrifice, grandma to pay the price, and we asthmatics, we diabetics, we doctors and nurses, we ER janitors and grocery clerks, we cashiers, coffee brewers, we will fill the hospitals till they burst. Because accountants cough in tight cartons of cubicles. They tally invoices, deductibles, dollar signs, dividends, investment projections, stock prices. The love of dollars multiplies. Dollars spread one to the next. This hot love that moves this virus. And then this one also. This is called Play Ball. It's been a lot that we've seen canceled. From basketball to the start of the baseball season to poetry events and all sorts of things. So, play ball. I've seen so many sunrises this month, and not like the mornings before, reflected off a wall while I make a hurried breakfast, not through sunglasses and windshield. I've seen these in their entirety. From the birdsong before it, like the national anthem played for this new feeling world, to the lights on full, hot cup of tea, butt on the couch, because this is 2020's March Madness tournament. This is the only opening day pitch. It's thrown perfectly in a slow lob across the blue to smack in that weird cosmic catcher's mitt on the other side of the sky. So that poem was requested by Diana, so thank you for sending that in. And also a few questions. These are a few questions by Enola. Enola asks, is it enough to be a state poet for a living? Depends how you mean that. If financially, not quite. There are great resources like the Arts Council, Nebraska Arts Council, Humanities in Nebraska, who help make it easy for places to bring me out and pay for my gas money and meals and all that. So Arts Council, Humanities in Nebraska, you're wonderful. But ultimately, I also run a nonprofit, and in the past, I've worked for my sister's video photography business. In fact, I was covering the Iowa caucus for NBC just recently. So financially, no. But is it enough to be a state poet? It is pretty good. It's been wonderful. It's been a thrill and an amazing honor. So I'm Nebraska State Poet from 2019 through the end of 2023. So I'm looking forward to getting all over the state. My goal is to do a reading in every county of Nebraska, and I'm 1/3 of the way exactly right now, and at least one reading in every county. I was already in Scottsbluff, but looking forward to getting back for this reading, but in a future one. So Enola also asks, What do you do when you're not feeling to write a poem, but maybe you have to present something new? When sometimes like that, I just sit down and write anyway. It might end up just being practice. It might not be much of a poem, but it's still worth doing. And a lot of times I make myself write a new poem every week. So my deadline is Monday night. And there's some Monday nights where I've sat down thinking I had nothing to write about. And then I sit down and I end up writing something that I ended up liking quite a bit. So whether you think you've got a poem in you or not, it doesn't hurt to sit. Because at the worst, you've got a practice poem. Just like basketball, just like baseball, just like piano, like guitar. Sometimes you're sitting down and you're just practicing to see what happens. One last question before some more poems. Do you have other things that you do to have inspiration to create besides writing and reading other poets? And one of the things that works best for me is silence, especially writing in a car with no radio, no podcasts, nothing like that on. So silence for me helps a lot. It's something that in this world, we're so good with distractions, with TV, with the internet, with everything, with all these things we can be doing. So sitting quietly, your brain doesn't shut off. So things are still happening. So silence, I think, is one of the greatest things to help poetry, besides reading other poets and listening to poems and all that. All right. A couple other poems. This poem was requested by one of our relatives, Marjorie Scanlon. So this poem is called The Story of Ferdinand the Bull. Dad would come home after too long at work, and I'd sit on his lap to hear the story of Ferdinand the Bull. Every night, me handing him the red book until I knew every word. Couldn't read, just recite along with drawings of a gentle bull, frustrated matadors, the all-important bee, and flowers. Flowers in meadows and flowers thrown by the Spanish ladies. Its lesson, really, about not being what you're born into, but what you're born to be. Even if that means not caring about the capes they wave in your face or the spears they cut into your shoulders. And Dad, wonderful Dad, came home after too long at work and read to me the same story every night until I knew every word, couldn't read, just recite. And then this poem was requested by Kat Dixon. It's called The Happily Ever After. It's the last poem in the book. So we got The Baby That Ate Cincinnati is the first poem. This is the last poem. So The Happily Ever After. Isn't what you imagined. Book on the nightstand, sheets pulled up to your chin. The tales of how they meet are so vivid, visceral. So full of abandon, with every dragon slain, every trap impossibly sidestepped, the gnomish man with his clickety spindle left tricked and shamed, each deer heart returned wet in a box, witches shot out of the forests like cannonballs, all the mountains, all the oceans, all of the skies woven into the story. That is how it starts. Now, even their names have been taken away, not by dwarves or ninjas or strange voices howling from their oatmeal bowls, but necessity, practicality, mommy, daddy. Prince Charming sometimes breaks. He once held up the baby who wouldn't stop crying, tightened his fingers around it, and growled, "I hate you." It is not out of cruelty. No, just for the same reasons she, when no one is around, will set her tiara with a click on the steps and weep into her knees. The galleons are not burned, not swept off course by thundering waves to wash ashore on islands of riddles to unravel. They do not spend years pining and wondering where, oh where, their other is, and would they see them again. The galleon is a Hyundai, and it's right there, bobbing in the harbor. There are dishes, there is laundry, the carpet is wet again, the frying pan has been in the sink for 3 days, parent-teacher conferences and commute to work. This is part of ever, part of after. This, like that misshapen gear, is somehow part of the watch, is part of happily. This is where the story gets absolutely daring, though the printers ran out of ink dozens of chapters back. The flying horses, the talking swords, the singing pirates, chupacabras, the goddamn gumdrop cabanas filled with some horrible secret smells and haberdashery are all past. This is where you realize slipping past the troll, turning the ghost to stone was nothing compared not to how you came together, but to how you managed to stay. Now, one last poem, then some more questions and a writing prompt. This poem, Jennifer sent in. It's a love poem for my wife. It's called Make Star Love, Not Star Wars. Just let me love you. Like Han Solo, reckless and moody, and you won't be sure if you can count on me till I save your galaxy every time, baby, 'cause I ain't no long time ago or no far, far away. Let me love you like Luke. I may only be learning, but I can raise your spaceship up from the muck as I've soared away from desert planets into these rainy cosmos that I alone can crack open. When you hear my voice curled in your head like a man nested warm in a tauntaun's belly. You got time to watch that movie. If you don't get that reference, Empire Strikes Back. Take the time. Tauntaun's belly. You reclining in your tinfoil bikini, surrounded by jittery chumps as I whisper, these are not the boys you're looking for. Baby, you want to give me your number. Let me love you like Obi-Wan with a love that never truly dies. Let me love you smooth like Lando. Let me love you without a need for CGI graphics to get spliced in decades later, because it'll be just right, just like it is. Let me love you without prequels or sequels or Jar Jar Binkwells. Let me love you like a Wookiee, tall and strong and... Baby, let me love you like that, poetry, and I will love you wisely, like Yoda, because here there are no others for us, love. Luminous beings we are, love. Feel my love around you, here, there, between you, me, the rock, the tree, everywhere, yes. Ready are you? All right. I freaked out the dog. He's coming to see what's going on now. Max, it's okay. It's all going to be good. All right. A couple of last questions. Lynn Elwood writes, which poets do you read? It just really depends. I really like reading new literary magazines, just thumbing through, finding different poets that way. I love going to open mics. I love listening to other poets in my community or other communities and just hearing their poems. But aside from there, I love classics. I love Keats. I love Blake. I love Ted Kooser. I love Patricia Smith. There's so many amazing poets writing right now in English. What I'd recommend ultimately for most folks, pick up an anthology, pick up a literary magazine, and just thumb through it. Find something that catches your eye and read more of them. One of my favorite poets is a poet named David Kluel, a St. Louis poet who just passed away a few weeks ago. And so, I've got a lot of his books, but I'd never read his first book. So I saw that news and read his first book, and it's really fascinating to see. So there's a lot of folks I could recommend you read. One last question. Jean asks, what is the role of art in times of crisis? For me, it's about centering. It's about processing the information. It's about, focus, getting back in touch with what's going on kind of inside of us, not these external fears, just worries about economics or health or this or that, but really being in touch with everything going on in a broader sense than just these little things that take hold of us. I think that's really what poetry and art can do in a time like this. All right. With that, it's time for some writing. What I want you to do is we're going to first write a bunch of small things, just some lists that we'll use to write a poem. So, for your writing prompt today, I want you to reflect on what's been going on in the pandemic, or if you're watching this a long time after, try to think back. But what are 3 expected things that you miss? What are the 3 obvious, 3 or more, that you kind of figure you would miss, and you do indeed miss? Winchell's apple fritter. Haven't had one in a while. So, after you have 3 expected things you miss, what are 2 unexpected things that you didn't expect you would miss? Do you miss spending time at work, in your office, in that space? Do you miss the commute, the time in the car where you would, think about or listen to podcasts or do other things? For me, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I really haven't been listening to them because I don't spend time in the car. And so I miss a little bit of that time. List then 3 things in this new world that you like. What aspects maybe of staying at home or being with family or all of this do you really like? I like that I've got a little bit more quiet in life. I probably doesn't make up for everything else, but it is a small thing that I think is good. And then list 1 thing in this new world that you want to hold on to, what you want to continue after we can go back out into public, go to poetry readings, go to a lot of poetry readings. Like for me, it's things like I'd love to continue having some of these things online, especially in other cities and states that I've gotten to catch. I'd like to be able to find a way to continue some of this quiet time. So what are your things you have on this list? So right now you should have at least 9 things, hopefully more, put more. Think about the details of all these things. Try not to be kind of broad. What are the details? What are the specifics? And write a poem using at least 2 of the things from this list. If you get all 9, bonus points. But see what comes out of it. See what happens when you try to write about some of this. And it may end up just being a list poem, or it might be a reflection on one aspect. It might go somewhere completely different. So thank you. Thank you, Western Nebraska Community College. I look forward to coming out there soon. Thank you, the Nebraska Arts Council. Thank you, everyone who's watched. We're wishing you the best through all of this. So in the meantime, sit in silence, write some poetry. Thanks.